Welcome to another Colors of Prog. Doing something a little different this time. I'm going to be discussing an American composer, multi-instrumentalist, Michael Quatro. Michael Quatro was born in 1943 in Detroit, Michigan. He's released quite a few albums since his debut in 1972. Most of his recordings are self-released on his own label. But he also was on the Motown subsidiary Prodigal Records. And a few were picked up the same year he released his original independent recordings for other labels, like United Artists, for example. Michael Quatro's sisters, Patty Quatro, Susie Quatro, and Nancy Quatro, in the early 60s all-female band called the Pleasure Seekers. They morphed into a band called Cradle in 1968. In 1974, Patty Quatro joined Fanny, and they released the last Fanny album, Rock and Roll Survivors. Oddly, it was the one Fanny album to actually have two charting singles. June Millington, co-founder of Fanny, had left at that time, so the group disbanded shortly after Rock and Roll Survivors. And I think there was a tour to support that album. They disbanded after that. Susie Quatro broke through with a hit in '73 titled Can the Can. True. Her tough exterior got her cast in the television series Happy Days as Leather Tuscadero, also known as Pinky Tuscadero. Patty Quatro recently united with June Millington, Bree Darling, and others for a few live performances to support the Fanny documentary 2021's Fanny, The Right to Rock. Getting back to Michael Quatro, allegedly he was a trained classical pianist since the age of 7. The guy's gifted. So we're going to jump right into, I love some of these old 70s album covers. They would be not safe for work nowadays, not safe for anywhere to display. 1973 on Evolution, a Stereo Dimensions recording. This is pretty wild. This is his second album. It's called it's credited to the Michael Quatro Jam Band. It's called Look Deeply into the Mirror. Side 1 has 4 songs, all of average length, and the same thing with side 2. Patty Quatro plays old guitars. Ted Nugent has a quick cameo, blink and you'll miss it, guitar break. And that's about it, man. Michael Quatro plays, check this out, Moog synthesizer, Baldwin electric piano, violins, cellos, flutes, organ harpsichord, keyboard, bass, grand piano, tack piano, chimes, sound effects, electronic effects, maestro, theremin, Moog, and mini Moog. Later on, he'll play around with the Mellotron. So, this is the second album, as I said, and it combines his love of classical music and obviously symphonic prog. And yes, you could hear some of that. And there's a little, like 2 songs of sort of glam rock, an influence from probably his Rocking Sisters, perhaps. Super hard to find. Believe it or not, an eBay seller a while back had a bunch of these. He let them all go for the grand sum of $10. Yes, I know, it's crazy. They were all in good to okay condition, so I had to clean them up a lot, but it was nice just to have this. This is the back cover. Really interesting to see them live at the time. The big one, his third album, is this one. In collaboration with the gods. 1975 features Rick Derringer on guitar. This is, you may not find many people to challenge. I think it's a full-on progressive rock masterpiece. While there are songs on side A and 6 on side B, there's 4 or 5 on side A and 6 on side B, separated by bands between tunes. It just sounds like one long symphonic side, really. And just with it's almost like one long song with various chord changes and different chord structures. Again, Quatro plays a variety of keyboard instruments, including the mellotron and the theremin. You might have played with that before. Also guesting are Flo and Eddie from the Turtles on back vocals, and Rick Derringer. A Dave Kiswani, bass player for Ted Nugent, handles lead vocals. And Kerry Hill, who was a journeyman guitar player at the time, plays most of the guitars. But this is a pretty crazy record. 1975, as I said, and it, to my knowledge, it's never been remastered or re-released. I don't even know if there's a CD version out there. I've noticed traders and sellers, discogs and the like, finding a good clean copy of this and selling it for various. It's really, if you go find it, I highly recommend it. One thing I wanted to note, I'm not quite sure where he was coming from mentally, because first song, Interlude of Ra in ancient Egypt, blah blah blah. And then he talks about Plato and Loki. So I mean, definitely talking about the gods, as in the gods, and quite interesting is a glimpse of the back cover. This was one that did not arrive in such good shape. Actually, it was split. I'm meaning the entire cover was separated. So I had to repair that. I did an earlier two early shows on the care and feeding of your vinyl and CD collection. No, seriously, I did. Not the feeding part. And so there's that. So off we go to 1976. And this is called Dancers, Romancers, Dreamers, and Schemers. Now, Quatro does most of the lead vocals on this one. And side 2 has a long track called The Ancient Ones, with vocal narration by David Surkamp. So it was 8 minutes long. And there's a 3-minute Chopin riff called Pure Chopin. And I mean, he's such a talented artist, but he has one foot in progressive music and one foot in then commercial sounds, of popular music and hard rock. And it's just I'm not quite sure what he was trying to get to. It's almost like he was, there's so much stuff going on in his head, but it obviously has a love for progressive rock, and you can hear that in most of the music. At the same time, he's churning out these tunes that are quite catchy and not terrible, but they're at odds with everything else. Then we have the total 70s, Getting Ready. Yeah. Get ready, 1977. Um, this one was probably the least favorite of my the four Michael Quatro albums I had picked up. You know, in collaboration with the Gods from '75, pretty damn terrific. It's amazing. I highly recommend that one. But in you know in 3 short years, 5 if you count since his second album, he's just all over the place. Now there's interesting stuff on this though because former Argent band member Russ Ballard composed a song titled "Winning" for his 1976 solo album titled "Winning." The song may be more familiar to you for being a big hit for Santana in 1981 on the Z-Bop album. Now, this is 77. So Russ Ballard had just released "Winning" on his own debut solo album, and Michael Quatro covers it. And so I'm listening to this. I'm like, I know that song, the Santana song. And then I had to research. Okay, that's where it came from. And for Santana, Alex Legertwood sang. He had been singing with Santana for quite some time. Another thing of interest is a Phil Lynott song here from Thin Lizzy called "Wild One," and other songs are credited to Michael Quatro and Patty Quatro. There's 4 on side A, side 1, and 5 tunes on side B, side 2, and you could still hear a bit of that symphonic sound in here, but at the same time, there's a little bit more of that glam rock, that hard rock. His recordings have been sporadic since 1981. Only did 4 albums, the last being released in 2006 called Heavenward. And Michael Quatro has also been active as a talent scout, an A&R person for recording companies. He works independently and also with other recording companies. Allegedly, he helped the careers of Alice Cooper, Funkadelic, Iggy Pop, and his sister Susie Quatro with her solo career. I mentioned Patty Susie is still performing nowadays, too. Michael Quatro has been pretty quiet except for the occasional solo release. It sounds like they may be faith-based. I'm not quite sure about that. But in any case, that was today's show devoted to Michael Quatro. And in collaboration with the Gods, it's a real great symphonic prog out there, but it's highly recommended. Check that out. Thanks for listening. By the way, this is episode 9. I misspoke in the last the Italian box set. I said season 4 or something like that. That was episode 8. So this is season 3, episode 9. I'll be back soon. Stay well.